What's going on, guys? I just wanted to go over 2.1 real quick, which is essentially just 2.0, but I'm bringing it back to the 1.6 broadcast system with quite a few tweaks to it to kind of make it a lot better for, especially for multi-raid guilds. First thing I wanted to go over real quick before I start with the broadcast is I included a repair script in here that is intended to fix up your tables if you had problems with 2.0 and you got multiple like duplicate entries and stuff like that if two people migrated and whatnot. The repair option doesn't have a button or anything in the add-on. I don't want people just seeing repair tables and clicking it and not having an understanding of what it does. So the only way you're going to know about it is through this video here. So if you do need to repair your tables because of the migration or some other mishap that happened, you're going to bring it up by simply typing DKP repair tables. Now there is another parameter that you can add to this. If you modified all of your DKP here to be correct, if all of the DKP values here are where you want them to be, you're going to include true to the end of that command down here. If these values are not where you want them to be and they're all doubled, like in this table, all these values are pretty much doubled because there's a ton of duplicate entries and stuff like that that's just completely inflating the DKP. In that case, you're going to want to leave the true up entirely and just do DKP repair tables. So I'll go ahead and run that, and that only it usually takes about a minute or so to run. It really depends on how big your tables are. And all that's going to do is it's going to, like I said, it's going to remove duplicate entries. It's going to make sure all the data structures are correct. It's going to fix the structure in your DK entries because the older versions were incorrect. I changed how that worked to be more precise. And then it's going to, of course, depending on whether or not you put the true parameter in there, it's going to fix the DKP values here. So this has been repaired, and these are now the actual real values, how they should be without all the duplicates and such. And just to mention, I would recommend definitely backing up your tables before doing this repair, just in case if something here doesn't look the way you want it to. But once this repair is done from here, you can go ahead and manually adjust each individual entry to be the DKP it should be, should this not be 100% accurate. Okay, so now as far as the broadcast itself, like I said, it's pretty much the same thing as 1.6 version, but there was some additional functionality included. There's no more broadcast button in here to send the data. Instead, rather, you're going to go ahead and just click the status indicator down here, and it's going to bring up the broadcast UI. Basically, what this is going to do is you can select who you're sending it to and how much data you're sending. So up here, if you select player, you can send it as a whisper to any player that's currently online, and that will only broadcast to them. Guild is obviously broadcasted to the entire guild. As far as data down here, you got merged last 2 weeks and full broadcast. Full broadcast is exactly the same as the broadcast was in 1.6. It sends all of your data. It overwrites anybody that receives it with an exact duplicate of your current data. The merged last 2 weeks here works a little bit differently. This is going to send the last 2 weeks of data that you have. With one exception, it will not send any data that was created before you installed 2.1. This is just I'm sure it would work just fine, but I want to make sure that no corruption occurs simply because the indexing changed with 2.1 to make things a bit easier to merge with. So with the merge last 2 weeks, you're going to send those 2 weeks of data, and those that receive it are only going to apply entries they do not have. If they already have the entry, they're going to completely overlook it and won't even touch it. So this is useful if you have two raid leaders that weren't online when the other was raiding, and you want to send your data to the other raid leader and mix it together, and then you'll broadcast it to the rest of the guild from there. So I have another character over here that has no data here, and I'm just going to go ahead and do a full broadcast real quick to him. So that'll take a few seconds. Obviously, send it's all the tables, but once it gets there, he's going to have an exact duplicate of my data here. And there it is. Now, the status indicator here does tell you if you're missing entries. The way that works is you're basically going to be broadcasting when you log in or reload what entry is your most recent entry. And if I receive that broadcast and I don't have that entry, it's going to put it down here in the tooltip so that I know who has that entry, or rather who created that entry and who I need to get it from. So as an example, I will go ahead and log off with him real quick. And I will go ahead and we'll just adjust everybody's DKP here and log him back in. So as you can see here now, it says out of date, and it says he's missing an entry that was created. So I'm just going to go ahead and merge my data with that one, with that character. So he's missing, obviously in this case, just one entry. So I'll broadcast that, and just like that, he's up to date. And as you can see, the data is all identical. One other thing I wanted to go over real quick. This actually was in 2.0, but there's a new option down here. It says validate tables at the bottom. It's kind of hard to put documentation on it inside of a drop-down menu here, but basically all that does is it usually takes about a minute or two to run, but it combs through all of your history, all of your loot history, etc., and it makes sure all of the values here match up, as well as lifetime earned, lifetime spent, etc. Basically, if you find yourself having some incorrect values for whatever reason, you can just go ahead and run that, and it will give everybody the DKP they should have based off of the entries that you have in your tables. Another use for that is if you delete somebody off the table and then you re-add them. When you re-add them, they're going to have 0 DKP, but you can do the validation and it will restore the DKP they had before you deleted them. And that's pretty much it. I just wanted to get this version out so people had 2.0, but without the sync system that apparently wasn't functioning quite as well as I had hoped it would for quite a few people. Seemingly it worked really well for a lot of people, and the ones that it didn't work for, it was pretty much catastrophic. So I just wanted to get this out so you guys had 2.0 instead of having to go back to 1.6. I'm going to be making a Discord for people to hop in if they have any questions or concerns or anything like that to convey to me, and feel free to join that. Other than that, thanks for watching.